Hi, I'm Jack with healthofmyhome.com. In this video, we'll look at common house types and we'll explore what kind of advantages and common weak spots they have. This will allow us to better focus our attention on properly insulating and air sealing the box in any of them. Let's jump right in. Ranch home. I would say that most energy auditors love simple single-story houses. These are the simplest of homes with one story above ground and a crawl space or a basement underneath. In our area, we almost never see houses on slabs. For improving energy efficiency, ranch homes are pretty perfect. We can access all the areas of them and therefore working on them is easy and enjoyable. So I present a hypothesis that the owners of ranch homes are getting better deals on maintenance and construction work because tradesmen love working on them and it takes less time. In our area, they often have ducts in both the attic and the crawl space, and we can usually seal and insulate all there is to be sealed and insulated. I would say they only have one weak point common to almost all houses with an attic: not enough space for insulation around the eaves. Also, if they're sprawling, their volume to surface area ratio is not the best. If a ranch home has a basement, then we'll be looking at sealing and insulating the rim joist. Same applies to any house with a basement. Rim joist is the piece of wood that goes all around the house above the foundation wall. It's only 1.5 inches of wood that separates the inside from outside, and they were historically never insulated. And a lot of air comes through the gaps around it, and a lot of heat is leaving through the wood itself. Story and a half, or Cape Cod homes. These are just like a ranch home, but with the second, not quite a full floor above it. That second floor is definitely the bundle of weak spots of this design. Those spaces are usually really cold in the winter, really hot in the summer, and improving them is quite a bit more difficult and complex than working on a ranch home. These houses usually have at least 3 attics and an area of vaulted ceiling that often does not even have enough space to be properly insulated. All these intricate surfaces and shapes ideally need an expert attention, and they will take quite a bit of materials and labor to remedy. Let's start from the bottom up. There is often a completely open gaping holes from the lower attic to the space between first floor ceiling and the second story floor. The heat from the ceiling and the floor can just float out. These holes need to be sealed. The floor of this attic needs to be insulated as well, which often involves lifting up floorboards, since these spaces are often used for storage. These short walls are rarely properly insulated. Besides needing good insulation, they ideally need to be covered with an air barrier like Tyvek on the attic side, so the air would not move through the insulation. This way insulation can really work. Maybe the worst weak spots of this design is the section of the vaulted ceiling. Vast majority of these houses in our area with this design are built with these pieces of wood being only 3.5 inches wide. It's way too shallow. That's nowhere near enough space to properly insulate this area. And ideally, you'd want to put a little air channel in there for the air to pass by the roof. There is just not enough space for that. What ideally needs to happen with this area is for the drywall on this section to be removed. Those cavities have an air pathway and insulation installed, and then about 4 inches of foam board insulation to be added on the rafters and then covered back with the drywall. And yes, that will make the space smaller on the inside, while it's already probably a bit small. But that's what it would take to turn it to be much more livable. And finally, there is the little attic on top. Depending on the particular house, it might not even exist or be so small a person can't get in there. So working on it is really challenging. Often there isn't even an access to it. In those cases, the best realistic solution is to just fill it up with insulation completely through a gable vent. Next up is colonial or 2-story houses. These have great potential to be energy efficient. These are kind of like 2 ranch homes stacked on top of each other. It preserves the benefits of a ranch. Everything is accessible and they're easy to work with, but usually have an even better ratio of volume to surface area. they do have one weak spot that builders rarely thought about back in the day. Even if the walls are insulated, usually the area between the floors, where it's facing the outside, is not sealed nor insulated right. I've worked on a number of houses of this type where, for example, they had recessed lights on the first floor, and they would just leak crazy amount of air from the outside through the air leaks in this area. This area is called band joist. Band meaning it goes all the way around. It's similar to the situation of just 1.5 inches of wood separating the inside from outside in the basements. Fortunately, it can be insulated similarly to how walls are insulated, but with the use of onion bags, so not the whole cavity gets blown in by insulation. What's done is a hole gets drilled for each cavity, an onion bag gets inserted, and insulation gets blown into it. It fills up and plugs the cavity, so the air nor heat can move. Split-level houses. What split-level houses often are is a ranch home and a two-story home stuck together. So they have all the same attributes of those two designs, with an additional couple of places to pay attention where those two are connected to each other. There is usually a triangular shaped wall between the lower attic and the upper portion of the house that is often poorly insulated, and also the wall separating the crawl space from the lower level living space. We want to air seal and insulate it as well. And the finally is mobile homes. If you're lucky to never have lived in a mobile home, you probably don't even know how much money they take to heat. Mobile homes, more than others, perhaps vary with their age. 50-year-old ones are significantly worse off than 15-year-old ones. And here's a list of common issues of a mobile home from the bottom up. Skirting. This barrier that goes all the way around the crawl space itself is generally not meant to keep any heat in, but has a critical role in keeping cats, raccoons, rats, and other creatures out of there. And keeping them out is very important, since they commonly just destroy those spaces if they get in there. Not leaving any holes for them to get in is your best bet, and I can't overstate its importance. Floor insulation. It's almost never sufficient. Usually the cavity that is meant to be insulated is less than half full and is torn down in areas. Also, the area where the ducts are located is often just not insulated at all, and it's some of the most important area to insulate. Ducts. Ducts in mobile homes are notoriously leaky and need to be sealed, or even better, filled with insulation and abolished altogether, while the heating system be replaced with a mini-split heat pump. Walls in most older mobile homes are framed with wood that provides only 2.5 inches of space for insulation. That's just really low amount of insulation, and there isn't much that can be realistically done about it. Heating. Heating in most mobile homes is a very expensive electric resistance heat. Installing a heat pump to replace it is one solution. Not infrequently, we see people adding wood stoves to their mobile homes. If not done right, it might be extremely dangerous. Roof insulation in older homes is insufficient and does not have much space for improvement. The common best solution is to install an insulated membrane roof on top of the existing roof. Mobile homes can usually be improved quite majorly, especially the old ones, but it does take quite a bit of money, and that is often the resource that people living in mobile homes are short on. So if you know someone living in a mobile home who needs those improvements, their best bet might be Weatherization Assistance Program. It's a program that helps low-income households improve energy efficiency of their houses anywhere in the US at no cost to them. They serve not only mobile homes but site-built homes as well. Perhaps you're noticing that since heat loss is about exterior surface areas, single-family homes are inherently less efficient than multi-family homes. Big apartment buildings are the most energy efficient, but even row houses or townhouses are more efficient, since they are not losing heat to the walls that are connected to the neighboring units. Yes, I understand, in this country we're all about independence and regard single-family homes as the pinnacle of the American dream. Yet if you live in an apartment, your heating bill might be, say, $40, while in a single-family house it might be $200. and those numbers correlate to the environmental impact of our energy consumption. These videos are primarily focused on single-family houses, and we will work to make them as energy efficient as reasonable. But if you really want to have the lowest energy bills and lowest environmental impact, living in an apartment is probably your best bet. An average New York City's resident's carbon footprint is significantly lower than that of an average American's, and living in a small apartment is a really big factor in that. If that's not what you were hoping to hear, don't worry. I will give you a lot of good news along this journey in other videos. We can certainly improve the efficiency and environmental impact regardless of the type of house you live in. And I know some people might be up in arms about how I want them to live in a plain, boring box. The fact is, I don't. I have a strong appreciation for architecture, and I want houses to be beautiful and have character. A house can actually be quite architecturally interesting and appealing, while its heated area can still have a simple shape. Added architectural elements that are not part of the heated house is a great solution. Other solutions are artistic paint job, decor, and landscaping. I'm a huge fan of architecture that is functional and aesthetically pleasing. In the next video, we'll look at one of my favorite topics, how to make a house thermally comfortable. There is a really cool little, or actually rather big, secret that is hiding in plain sight. This was Jack with healthofmyhome.com. Thank you for watching.